What up, everyone? Welcome back for another episode with my roommate Anthony Paventa as we react to some of the games that happened this weekend in the NFL and talk about going forward some of the big storylines. We're going to start with one of our, actually, is our favorite NFL team in the New York Giants, who unfortunately took another loss this weekend, now 1-7 on the year. And is it time for the Giants to move on from Eli Manning, in your opinion?
Um, when it comes to the whole Eli Manning situation, it's all about, you know, at what point is the coaching staff going to realize that they really can't help this guy? And what puts them in a really tough spot is that even though that you have a young quarterback named Kyle Lauletta, who they drafted out of Richmond this past draft, not necessarily even waiting in the wings, but you have this offensive line that is just absolutely putrid. Where I don't even think you could put any of the actual great quarterbacks in this league behind this line. So it's a really tough situation with Eli or any other quarterback on this roster. But I think that it's going to come down to what their record is at the bye. If they continue to
Their
lose,
bye is this upcoming week.
yeah.
So they're 1-7 at the bye.
So at this point, I think that they should bench him the week after the bye. Start going a different direction. It may be different from what you say, but you know what? That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to disagree with you there. Part of it is because I'm very loyal to Eli and whatnot, but I understand when it's time to move on from a quarterback. Eli is, albeit, he is not as great as he once was, if judging by your standards of how great is or isn't. Now, the thing is, though, when you do the math, Eli, take away touchdowns and interceptions and whatnot, although he is projected to finish more touchdowns than interceptions on the season, he's projected to throw for nearly 5,000 yards this season. By no means is that a bad season by a quarterback, regardless of how many interceptions or touchdowns you throw. And I think you hit the nail on the head. There's not a quarterback in the league, whether your name is Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, or past. Joe Montana, John Elway, Dan Marino that could play behind this offensive line. On the 7 sacks that Eli took yesterday against the Redskins, 5 of them were against 4-man pressure. And for those of you that may not know a lot about football, you have at least 5 offensive linemen every single down. Sometimes you have 6 people blocking with a running back or a tight end. So how is Eli supposed to do anything when his offensive line is collapsing, giving up the pocket to 4 men when he has 6 guys trying to protect him? It's just not possible for the offense to be able to do anything. And now listen, the defense played great yesterday. They had some bad games. Defense played a pretty solid game except for letting Pearson rip off that one run late. But at the end of the day, if I were the Giants, I'm trading someone, not from their offense though, but to improve that offensive line, because give Will Hernandez some time, but Nate Solder's been a bust. That entire right side of the line, albeit if there's injuries, has not been able to do a single freaking thing. Eli is on pace to probably be one of the most sacked QBs in the league this year, and it's truly, truly sad that someone of his caliber is having this kind of a year.
Yeah,
But we'll see what they do. I mean, probably looking at another season similar to this one. Hopefully, maybe they can fix it in the draft. There may not be a ton of great QBs in this one, but hopefully they shore up the offensive and defensive lines. Next, we're going to go into the NFC South a little bit. We saw a QB change yesterday with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They started Ryan Fitzpatrick the first 3 games of the year, while Jameis Winston was suspended due to violations of the NFL rules. And now he is back. He started the last 4 games for the Buccaneers, played okay, but he has 10 interceptions now so far on the season, and he has just not played up to the level that he played at in his second year in the league or whatnot. And now they announced Ryan Fitzpatrick as a starter for this season. So, Anthony, is it time to move on from Jameis Winston here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I don't think so at all. I mean, this guy was practically the cornerstone of the entire Tampa Bay franchise, and you really can't you can't count on Ryan Fitzpatrick moving forward. I mean, as much as Ryan Fitzpatrick has, you know, opened the eyes of the Bucks fans, they still lost
They
against
did.
Cincinnati.
Yes, they did.
He's not closing games.
But it's hard to help when a defense gives up 37 points, isn't it?
Well, that's a whole different story. That's just because the team is just really not that good, you know. But when you have that quarterback, Jameis Winston, who has the ability to be not an elite quarterback, but a pretty damn good one, and can actually, you know, lead his team to the playoffs. I mean, maybe not win the Super Bowl. He could maybe, but it all depends on the team around him, you know. And listen, Jameis Winston can have all the antics off the field that he wants, and it's gonna backfire on him in the end. But Jameis Winston is still the cornerstone of that franchise.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit of a different round. I think they give you a quarterback by committee, so to speak, for the rest of the year. They'll play whoever's hot, back the guy up, so you have two guys that are at least NFL starting caliber quarterbacks. In the offseason, though, you know, I believe this is Jameis' fourth year in the league. So if next year the team has an option whether or not they want to pick him up or not. It's not a player option, it's a team option. If I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, though, I'm not necessarily picking up that option. What I'm doing is I'm letting him not necessarily walk in free agency. You can make him an offer. If he chooses not to accept it, that's on him. But you make him an offer based on what you think his value is worth. And to be honest with you, I don't see his value any higher than what Blake Bortles got this past season, which was a 3-year, $39 million deal. And clearly Blake Bortles is showing that he can't even live up to that level of a contract with the Jacksonville this season. We all thought, you know, maybe he rode out the ship, so to speak, and doubted the haters. Yeah. But clearly we were wrong. If I'm the Bucs, though, I'm doing quarterback by committee this year, and I'm looking in next year's draft maybe, because they'll be up there with the Giants with a high draft pick, or I'm looking into free agency. You know, you'll have, who knows, maybe the Giants will cut Eli Manning. Maybe you can get him down there, so to speak. Maybe you go after Teddy Bridgewater, who's a free agent. You know, there are other QBs that'll be free agents this year that I think are a little bit better than Jameis Winston, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you trade for one of these other, you know, QBs that you got in the first round, so to speak. So we'll see. But I definitely don't see Jameis starting in Tampa Bay beyond this season, in my own personal opinion. Next, we're going to stay in the NFC. We're going to go to the NFC West now with the Los Angeles Rams. Still takes some getting used to from calling them from St. Louis. Mm-hmm. But the Rams yesterday beat the Packers 29-27 at home. Packers fumbled the kickoff return that would have given Aaron Rodgers a chance to go ahead. And then Todd Gurley smartly, despite what fantasy owners and people in Vegas say, stopped and got tackled inbounds and let the clock run out. So now they're 8-0 on the season. And do you think the Rams are the favorite to not only go to the Super Bowl, but win the Super Bowl now amongst the teams in the NFL?
I mean, I'm not saying that they're the favorite to still win. I mean, they still have to go through Kansas City. They still have, even though Kansas City is in, you know, it's Kansas City. You got the Eagles, you got the Pats, you got all these teams, Steelers maybe. You know, there's a lot of good teams out there. The Vikings, the Packers. It's a really this league is tough. You know, it's nothing is ever sure. I think it's ever sure. I didn't think that Philly was gonna make it that far last year in the postseason, and I thought that the Rams were gonna beat the Eagles in last year's postseason. I was wrong about that. So now it's a completely restructured team, great coach, good quarterback, pretty good offensive line. It could be better, but it's a decent offensive line, which
better
is
than the Giants.
Yeah, but that's really all you need, and a great defense and a great offensive weapons. The only thing that I think they need is probably a little bit of help in the secondary, but they still have the trade deadline to to solve that issue.
Yeah.
But I think that the Rams are a heavy favorite in the conference, not necessarily the Super Bowl yet, because like I said, nothing is sure in this league.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm pretty much going to agree with you on that. I think definitely the Rams should be the favorite in the NFC. I mean, in the NFC, yeah, you got the Panthers, who, albeit they're good, but who knows if they can beat elite teams consistently. Drew Brees and the Saints are
Yeah,
good.
I also forgot New Orleans. That's another.
But
team.
I don't think New Orleans is quite on the level yet with the Rams, so to speak. I don't know if their defense is as structured well.
Oh, no.
I'll keep it short and sweet. They haven't played the Patriots yet. Patriots are the Alabama of the NFL over the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
And the rule in the college football is you never bet against Nick Saban. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Happens. But you never bet against Saban. In the NFL, you don't bet against Brady and Belichick simply because when it comes down to it, they win the most often.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So, favorites to win the conference? Sure. Favorites to win the Super Bowl? Let's hold the brakes for now.
Yeah.
We need a little more proof.
Absolutely.
All right, moving along to our next topic. We're shifting gears here. We're going to move to the NFC North, covering the last division in the NFC. Anthony, who in your mind is the favorite to win the NFC North? All the teams are pretty much, 4-3, 3-3, 3-4. They're all within a game of each other. They all seem on the even playing field, so to speak. No one's really pulled away. So, halfway through the season, who's your favorite to win the NFC North, or who do you think will win the NFC North?
I'm still going with the Vikings. The Vikings, they might not have as good of a team as they had last year, but it's still a pretty damn good team. And the Packers rely heavily on Aaron Rodgers' mystique, just like as you said. If it wasn't the people we're blaming Ty Montgomery for muffing the punt, the kickoff, and causing a fumble. And they didn't talk about that. They were talking about the fact that Aaron Rodgers missed a chance to try to do a game-winning drive. I mean, there's more. Quarterbacks are very valuable, but there's more to this game than quarterbacks leading a team down the field. And while people will obviously say that Aaron Rodgers is better than Kirk Cousins has probably a top 5 receiver on the field wearing his purple colors, and they also have Adam Thielen, which is also a big time step up. And their defense is pretty good. They've had some injuries here and there, but I think that they are the more complete team than Green Bay. And if you over-rely on the quarterback, and they have a really, really, really mediocre coach in Mike McCarthy, and I'm going with Minnesota here.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go with either, I don't know who to pick, to be honest with you, which defeats the whole purpose of the question. But I'm going to go with either Green Bay or Chicago, which is ironic because I believe they both play each other in the final week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being, Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, the winner of this division is going to go 9-7 probably this year, 8-8. And the Packers, I feel, are primed to do that, mainly because, yes, the Packers do rely heavily on Aaron Rodgers, but there's no other quarterback in the league that can make the plays he does and throw the ball as well. Aaron Rodgers may be the best throwing quarterback we've ever seen. And by that, I mean best ability to throw the football. Is he the best quarterback ever? No. But is he the best one to ever throw the football? Yes, he is. When it comes down to it, though, Chicago, when they have Khalil Mack on the field, have a top 5 defense in the National Football League, and Mitchell Trubisky has exceeded all expectations so far this season. I think the problem with the Vikings is their defense, even though it is a good defense, it has not played up to the level that it should. And ironically, as we're going to get right into our next topic now, Kirk Cousins, I don't feel, has lived up to that $84 million contract that he was given. So that pretty much leads us right into our next topic, so to speak. Kirk Cousins signed a 3-year, $84 million contract this offseason with the Vikings, fully guaranteed. Now, for those that don't know, the NFL is the only league where contracts are not always fully guaranteed. Like in the NBA, when you sign a contract, it's fully guaranteed. MLB, same thing. NHL, same thing. NFL, it's not always guaranteed because there's always incentives that are built into it, and if you don't get them, i.e., a 4,000-yard passing season, you miss out on $1 million or something like that for the season. So, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings are currently 3-4. They have a ton of injuries, mainly with Dalvin Cook, some on the offensive line, some on the defense, but a lot of it is going to be put on the quarterback. So, Ant, did the Vikings overpay for Kirk Cousins?
Absolutely not. Listen, you could not bank on a second straight great season by Case Keenum. It just wasn't going to work. This is the Vikings era in this division. And when you have a team like Chicago who is really building their team to be a strong contender in the next couple of years, and you still have Aaron Rodgers in your division, you need to compete at quarterback. And Kirk Cousins was the best available quarterback on the free agent market this past offseason. So you better throw out some dough at him. You really have to. In order to compete in this league, you gotta have a great quarterback. A quarterback that can throw, a quarterback that can win you games. Kirk Cousins can win games. He can win big games. So when it comes to the money, it doesn't matter. Overpay, forget about it. You need to compete with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and you need to make sure that the Bears and the Lions stay down in the lower tier of the NFC North.
But don't you think they could have signed someone like a Teddy Bridgewater for less money than what they paid for Kirk Cousins? Maybe for a 3-year deal, also?
Well, once again, with Teddy Bridgewater, they know that franchise knows Teddy Bridgewater more than probably any other franchise, and he was coming off was a very gruesome injury. So,
he did come back last season though, and he played okay.
Yeah, but they weren't. I just feel like they weren't gonna take a chance like that. This was a perfect opportunity for the Vikings to really overtake the North, keep Aaron Rodgers down, keep the Bears and the Lions down for a good long while, and truly prove that you are the most complete team in the entire NFC North, and you can go on to beat the Eagles in the playoffs, the Rams, the Saints, and go on and take the next step, and that is the Super Bowl. Those are the things you do to win in this league. You have to dish out money to improve your team, and Kirk Cousins was the perfect guy for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, but I disagree with you on it, primarily because, Kirk Cousins, the thing that he was aiming for this offseason, as you can find out in videos with his wife when he's talking to her, saying how they wanted a guaranteed contract or as close to a fully guaranteed contract as they could get. They said they wanted to get close to $90 million. I think the Vikings could have given him less than $84 million guaranteed. Now, albeit he had offers on the table from teams like the Jets, the Redskins, where they were offering him in excess of $100 million. I don't think Washington was necessarily. I know the Jets were offering him like a 3 or 4 year, like $110 million contract, something like that. Probably would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the league. But I think they did overpay him just a little bit. I think they overpaid him by about $15 to $20 million, mainly because, yes, he was the best free agent QB on the market this year, but you could have gotten Teddy Bridgewater, who has the same level of output as Kirk Cousins, for less money. Not to mention, albeit Kirk Cousins and his teams, his teams weren't terrible that he played for with Washington. They weren't terrible. Were they great? No. But in the years he started there, he never led them to the NFC divisional round. I think only one time they got to the NFC wildcard game. And that was with an 8-8 record or a 9-7 record. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback and NFL starting caliber quarterback, but he is not worth $28-29 million a season to lead you to an 8-8 year. If you wanted that, you could have just traded for Eli Manning. You could have traded for Jameis Winston. You could have gotten a Marcus Mariota, traded like a first-round pick for something like that for him and signed him more money. There are QBs that do that same thing that you can do with the Kirk Cousins situation. So yes, they did overpay for Kirk Cousins. We'll see how much it comes back to bite them in the rear end. Moving along now, we're going to move into the AFC and some storylines. We're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. On our last episode, we mentioned how the Jacksonville Jaguars needed the win more this past weekend in London against Philadelphia. They did, in fact, lose, dropping to 3-5 on the season. So as the trade deadline approaches today, or even lean into the offseason next season, should the Jaguars go after Teddy Bridgewater at the trade deadline or even sign him in the offseason?
Absolutely. Either whichever one they have the better chance of like getting him as quick as possible. If the Saints aren't making him available by tomorrow, then you're gonna have to dish out some dough in the off season because he's only on a 1-year contract. So you gotta.
What would you give up for him?
In a trade?
Yeah.
At this point, I mean,
he was traded for what, a 5th-round pick or a 4th-round pick to the Jets.
He was traded for, I think, a 4th-round pick or a 3rd-round pick, something like that. Something like. But now I think that the Saints are going to be asking for a lot, maybe even like.
But he hasn't done anything to prove that he's worth more than that. He sat behind Drew Brees the whole season.
But it all matters on demand. Demand increases the price. That is a economic law, and it definitely works in football with quarterbacks. They could get a 2nd-round pick, I think, for Teddy Bridgewater, which is very good. Not a 1st-round pick. He's not Marcus Mariota. No. He's got a 2nd-round pick, I think, would be astounding. And getting a 2nd-round pick while you have Drew Brees under center and you're going to the playoffs, I mean, what's better than that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. If they were able to pick him up tomorrow, they should definitely do so. They could probably offer a 3rd-round pick and maybe a 6th or 7th-round pick to the Saints because then the Saints are getting back what they gave up for him and a little extra. Maybe a 5th-round pick, but make that maybe next year, so to speak. So you're getting something for him in a sense. You could say you made a profit, so to speak. If they're not able to get him, I think they definitely go after him in the offseason. I think they try to either trade Blake Bortles to a team like Denver or maybe Cleveland where you can back up Baker because Tyrod Taylor will be a free agent as well. Maybe you send him off somewhere to the Raiders where you can back up Derek Carr. Maybe you send him off to the 49ers in case Garoppolo's not ready at the start of the season. Bortles is a decent backup QB, but I think they should definitely go after Teddy Bridgewater the most because I think with Teddy, they could easily compete for the AFC South with the Texans or Titans. I think they're a divisional round team too. I think they can at least get to the 2nd round. But with Blake Bortles, they're borderline making the playoffs this year at best. So they need to figure out a way to get Teddy Bridgewater as fast as possible if they're able to get him. If not, then like some other teams like our Giants, the Buccaneers, this season is just going to be a wash. Mm-hmm. Moving along to our last 2 topics, which are both in the AFC North. We're going to talk about the Steelers next, my dad's favorite team, so shout out to him. James Conner, he has been the running back for the Steelers so far this year. He got in some playing reps last year and whatnot when they had to sit Le'Veon for a down or something of that nature. As you all know, Le'Veon has been sitting out this whole season to protect his stock, to get a better contract in free agency next year because he felt the Steelers weren't making him a fair enough offer. He felt he deserved more than $11, $12, $13 million a season. So he's purposely not showing up and he's not getting a game check. So, and assuming Le'Veon comes back at the last possible minute that he can, which would be week 10, do you think that if he comes back, that he should get more playing time than James Conner? Or do you think that James Conner should be the running back and they should sit Le'Veon?
I think that at this point you go with the hot hand here. I mean, why not? I mean, what's Steelers record? They're like
think they're like 4-3-1, I believe.
4-3-1, still very much in the thick of things.
I think they're a game and a half back behind Cincinnati for the division right now.
Yeah.
I think.
Or you know what? I honestly don't think there's one there's one definitive answer to go through with this. You have one of the best running backs in the sport coming back.
Oh, they're actually in first because they're 4-2-1. Cincinnati is 5-3, so they're actually up by half a game.
Very good, very good. That's even better. So now they hold the cards. They have the first place spot. So you can have Le'Veon come back and become the starter, and just have James Conner be his backup, and that's basically a win-win there. Or you can go with the hot hand with James Conner and stick with him. There's really no one definitive answer to this.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you. I think if Le'Veon comes back, which he probably will, my prediction is he's gonna come back and then milk some sort of injury so he can get his money, and then still protect his stock, and then tell teams, "Oh, I wasn't really injured. I just milked it to get my money." What Marcus Levitt did this past year with St. John's basketball, so to speak. If I'm the Steelers, I'm definitely rolling with James Conner. Not only has he exceeded the numbers that Le'Veon was putting up at this point last year, but he's only in the second year of his deal, so you can still get another 2 years out of him under his initial deal before you start having to franchise tag him and things of that nature. Le'Veon's going to walk anyways in free agency likely to try and get the biggest possible contract he can get. I think ultimately you roll with James Conner. Maybe you use Le'Veon if he wants to stick around. Maybe use him on like a third down or like in spread packages, so to speak, or an empty set. But I think if you need someone to physically run the ball, if James Conner's healthy, you're rolling with that guy because he's the future for right now for the Steelers. Moving along to our last topic of the day, which is one that just happened recently today as of Monday. Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley both fired from the Cleveland Browns. Hugh Jackson was in his third year with the Cleveland Browns in his second head coaching gig. And what was your reaction to him being fired?
My reaction is really not surprised at all. I mean, as much as people are very excited about Baker Mayfield and the fact that the Browns potentially have their franchise quarterback, still does not excuse Hugh Jackson for being really not that good of a coach. And under Hugh Jackson's tutelage, what was it? The Browns went through 2 seasons of no wins. Or
they went through 2 seasons with 1 win. They went 0-16 last year. The year before, they went 1-15.
That's just not going to cut it in this league. There's no It's time for a different culture, and I think that now that they have Baker, now John Dorsey has the opportunity to give Baker a new coach with a new system, a new set of coaches because they got rid of Todd Haley, also the offensive coordinator, as you said.
And I think they named Greg Williams the interim head coach for the rest of the season.
That's not going to last at all.
No,
it's just interim. But
he's not a head coach.
It's time for a new system, a new coach with the new shiny quarterback with Baker, and we move on from there.
Any names in mind to replace him at the end of the year? Any names that come to mind?
If Mike McCarthy gets fired from Green Bay, that would be a name. If Jason Garrett were to get fired from Dallas, which would be a pipe dream because you know how much Jerry loves him. Maybe Jason Garrett. Although I'm naming 2 guys that are once again just got off losing their jobs. So, I mean, are they really going to be that much better?
I think if they got Jason Garrett or Mike McCarthy, that would definitely be an improvement for Hugh Jackson. I don't know if he's on the market to coach again, but Ken Wisenhunt is a name that comes to mind. He didn't have the best success in Arizona, but it wasn't by far the worst coaching that ever took place, given he had terrible quarterbacks, and Carson Palmer was always hurt when he was a coach. And he's an offensive-minded guy, so that's a name that comes to mind. My overall take on it is that Hugh Jackson is a very good assistant head coach. He deserved a second chance to be an NFL head coach because I believe his first stint was with the I want to say his first stint was with I don't even know who his first stint was with, to be honest with you. I know he's coached as a head coach somewhere before. I can't quite recall where.
Yeah.
I know this was his second. Do you know who it is?
Well, no, I'm not saying with this.
Oh, but yeah, this was his second stunt, so he definitely deserved a chance for it. First year, team was bad. Went 1-15. Okay. Next year, in the draft, they had 3 first-round picks. They got Myles Garrett. They got, Jabril Peppers, our Jersey native.
And they got
a cornerback as well, I believe, in the first round also. So, at least heading into this season, the defense needed substantial improvement, which it should have done. I think overall the Browns are exceeding everyone's expectations. They won 2 games already this year.
Yeah. I have a name that maybe.
I definitely think it was time for Hugh to go. I would have done it in the off season, to be honest with you, because you don't know how firing a coach this early in a rookie QB's career is going to affect him, so to speak, because it was definitely not the best for Baker. You never want to fire a coach 7 games into a rookie QB's inaugural season, and he's only actually played in 3 games, 3.5 games. So I would have done it at the end of the season, but I definitely don't, blame Cleveland for doing the move. Excuse me. But yeah, if they could get a coach, that's great. I don't know who they'd go after, but who's your name?
But before you end the show, I've got a name that's kind of outside the box, and it's something that probably it'll never happen.
Well, go ahead, say it.
Ben McAdoo.
I don't know if he'll be the head coach because he is not coaching this year, obviously, so that's a whole year off from coaching. And his offensive scheme is questionable. I definitely like Pat Shermer's better than McAdoo's was. And, people say, oh, McAdoo was right. He knew the writing was on the wall with Eli and whatnot. I don't believe that. I think that's his own arrogance. And, he's trying to do something to say, I could save my job. But that's a topic for a different video, so to speak, on his decision-making and things of that nature. You have to wonder. His offensive scheme just confuses me, to be honest with you. He does a lot of short, intermediate routes, a lot of West Coast. West Coast offense is a good offense, but you have to be able to throw the ball consistently downfield. You can't be throwing 5-yard routes, a bunch of dump offs and screens like the Giants have to do this year because Eli's going to get killed before he actually
gets the ball downfield.
Exactly. So, at the end of the day, we'll see. We'll definitely know probably right after New Year who the Browns hire as their head coach because that's when the season ends. I'm sure they'll make a decent decision, and you know what? They'll probably get up to 5 wins, maybe 6 wins next year, which will be a substantial improvement for them.
And we may start to see some winning football in Cleveland.
Yeah, haven't seen that in 16 years. You and I were only 5-6 years old last time that happened.
Change the culture.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us to recap the NFL games that happened this past weekend. Come back tomorrow as I'll be posting a video giving my own predictions for how the college football playoff top 10 will feature tomorrow night when it is revealed at 7 o'clock on ESPN. And I'll tell you what teams I think are still alive left. So to all my Penn State friends out there, or Ohio State or Clemson or Bama, you're all still in it. Sorry to all my friends at Rutgers, but I don't think you're going to make it this year again until you can, start beating some teams in the Big Ten, so to speak. But come back tomorrow. It'll definitely be on social media for you to view as well as YouTube. Take care.